the essential role of the inner musical ear in piano playing. The ability to keep your fingertips gently clinging to the keys without creating tension is essential for natural tone production and ease in playing. It allows the hands to remain soft and relaxed while still offering precision and control. But this quality of touch doesn't come from force or repetition alone. You can't simply will it into existence through practice. It arises only when the inner musical ear is fully engaged, when the sound you imagine becomes the guiding force behind your movement. Just as writing flows naturally when your thoughts are clear, the fingers respond with quiet energy when your inner hearing is alive. The tone you imagine transfers directly to your fingertips, allowing them to respond. It gives clarity to your tone, flexibility to your hand, and intention to your technique. Training the inner ear also opens the door to fluent sight reading, quicker memorization, and more nuanced tone colors. It enables you to hear and hold multiple notes at once, even in complex polyphonic textures. So you bring out inner voices and play with expressive control. What you imagine is what your body responds to. And when the sound is vivid and clear in your mind, the fingers will know exactly how to follow. The mind-body connection in sound imagination. When you engage in mental sound imagination, you'll begin to notice that it naturally awakens subtle physical sensations. As you read through the score in your mind, the body responds instinctively. You may feel the shape of the hand, the positioning of the fingers, the motion of the wrist or elbow, almost as if you were playing physically. This quiet, kinesthetic response is a sign of integration. It reflects the deep connection between imagined sound and the body's memory of movement. Imagining sound through familiar instruments. In this chapter, we'll focus on developing the timbre ear, the ability to imagine the sound of string instruments like violins and cellos. This is an important step in preparing for the next chapter, where you'll begin imagining sound in a three-dimensional space, or what we call sound texture. That 3D sound the one that naturally aligns with three-dimensional hand motion and later on with 3D internal singing, will become the foundation for all future sound imagination and mental practice. This chapter, like the earlier one on 2D motion, is intentionally brief. Imagining sound in a more 2D way, through recognizable instrumental timbres, serves as a helpful bridge. Why start here? Because it's much easier to grasp the concept of sound imagination using familiar timbres and to begin understanding sound movement, how a sound stretches, flows, and shifts direction. When we imagine instruments like violins or cellos, it's natural to visualize their bows moving right and left, and that imagery helps activate and strengthen your inner hearing. This is where the work begins, by connecting sound, imagination, and motion through something you already understand. What is sound movement and why does it matter? Sound movement refers to the way we imagine sound traveling, particularly how it ends. In our inner hearing, sound can move vertically, straight down into the keys, or laterally, to the right or left. The direction we choose to imagine has a profound impact on tone quality, physical ease, and our expressive connection to the music. When we imagine sound moving vertically, downward, it often leads to a sense of separation between notes. This can limit our ability to hear natural transitions and interrupts the flow of inner singing. Without that imagined connection between tones, it becomes harder to engage the fine motor coordination needed for expressive playing, especially the way our fingers are guided by the ligaments and tendons within the palm. Over time, this disconnection can manifest physically. Instead of fluid movement, we may feel a buildup of stagnant energy or subtle tension beneath the wrist and forearm. The resulting tone may sound harsh, disconnected, or lacking in resonance. So what exactly is sound movement? It is the subtle inner sensation of the sound stretching in a direction, usually to the right or left, rather than staying fixed. When we begin to imagine sound, starting with string instruments and later on more refined tone qualities, we discover that we can shape it inwardly. We can stretch the sound in our mind as if watching a river gently stream from one side to the other. To begin sensing this, try singing a single tone while gently moving your hand or even your head slightly to the right or left. Notice how the sound seems to extend or carry in that direction. As your auditory memory absorbs this connection between movement and tone, you'll soon be able to recreate the sensation internally, imagining your singing traveling laterally, even without physical motion. This practice of directional sound imagination will be the focus of our next practice videos. Connecting musical score, imagination, and motion. As you continue exploring the PianoWell system, you'll begin to see a central principle emerging. Everything must be connected: the written score, your inner sound imagination, and your physical movement. These three elements are not separate skills, but reflections of the same musical intention. When one of these links is missing, when your imagined sound doesn't align with what's on the page, or your hand motion doesn't reflect your inner hearing, the natural energy of musical expression becomes blocked. The playing may still be accurate, but something essential will be missing: flow, depth, and emotional presence. As we've already begun to explore, the wrist can move laterally, following the two-dimensional patterns we observe in the score. Over time, this motion evolves into more three-dimensional movement, supporting a fuller range of expression and fluidity. But for any of that motion to feel truly natural, alive rather than mechanical, it must be guided by something deeper than mechanical habit or repetition. This is where sound movement reveals itself as the missing link. By imagining the direction of sound written in the score, and then letting that inner movement guide your wrist motion, you create an organic bridge between what you see, what you hear inwardly, and how you move. In this way, your wrist isn't just moving because it should. It moves because it must, because it's the physical reflection of a sound you've already conceived in your mind. The motion becomes expressive, intentional, and flowing. It's no longer an imposed technique, but a natural response to your inner creativity. This is the beginning of a more integrated, enjoyable, and deeply artistic way of playing. Identifying the direction of sound movement. To understand how a sound moves, begin by observing its relationship to the note that came before. If the current note is higher than the previous one, imagine the sound moving to the right. If the current note is lower, imagine it moving to the left. For the first note in the piece, the direction is yours to choose. There is no prior reference. If the same pitch repeats, the direction of movement remains unchanged. In polyphonic textures, follow the melody line to determine the direction of sound movement. When playing intervals or chords with one hand, let the sound movement of the other notes follow that same melodic direction. Imagining sound movement in intervals and chords. If all notes are moving to the right, begin imagining from the lowest note and move upward. If all notes are moving to the left, begin from the highest note and move downward. If the notes move in different directions, choose the note that moves to the left as your starting point. Integrating your needs into sound imagination. At first, bringing the emotional energy of your needs into sound imagination may feel unfamiliar, even overwhelming. To make this process more accessible, try breaking it into two gentle stages. In the first round, focus solely on the timbre, the color and texture of the sound, both in your imagination and your playing. In the second round, begin to merge that timbre with the feeling tone of your needs. Let the sound carry not only intention, but emotion, whether it's feeling of acceptance, comfort, warmth, love, safety, or something else your inner self longs for. This is why it's so important to pause before practicing to revisit the manifestation list from your pre-practice mindset sessions. Reading through it reawakens those feelings, allowing you to reconnect to the emotional atmosphere of your dreams. As you begin to weave those emotions into the act of imagining and playing, something subtle shifts. Your needs are no longer distant or conceptual. They become active participants in the process, alive in the sound itself. This change can feel profound. Suddenly your dreams of peace, belonging, or acceptance are not just internal experiences, but creative tools. You are not waiting for your needs to be met. You're using their energy as part of your artistic voice. In this way, practice becomes a place of transformation. You step out of patterns of fear, anxiety, or doubt around your worthiness. You no longer carry your needs as a weight. You integrate them as a resource, a presence, a musical offering. And when this happens, something deeper begins to emerge. A quiet stillness enters your playing. You are no longer reaching or striving. Instead, you find yourself simply here, fully immersed in the sound, fully aligned with who you are, and gently held by the emotions you've brought to life through music.